Hello, YouTube. It's your boy T. Shees, data scientist, social commentator, getter of buckets. What are we talking about today? I think I've come to realize there's an interesting observation I've made about the left. I think the left loves them some incompetent and kind of ditzy black women. I know. That's very, very, very spicy. You might even say it's mean. You might even say it's disrespectful. It's derogatory. It's pejorative. I know. I understand. But listen, I have a point here. Now, for those of you who don't have solid listening skills, I want you to put on your listening ears just real quickly, because I did not say that black women are ditzy and incompetent. I said the left loves the ditzy and incompetent ones. I have a philosophy on why that is. And as I kind of enumerate why I believe that is the case, it'll become quite obvious why they like them. And respect to, diabolical though it may be, it's actually kind of clever. But to illustrate this point, I'm going to get some help from the international man of mystery himself. That is one, Austin Powers. Let's let Austin Powers demonstrate his prowess as the spy extraordinaire, second only to the great 007, his fellow countryman, the British man of mystery.
Can I get you a drink, Mr. Powers?
Sure.
Austin, we've got to look for Dr. Evil.
Wait. I've got an idea.
Austin, why on earth did you hit that woman?
Right, let me show you, baby. That ain't no woman. It's
a man.
It's one of Dr. Evil's assassins.
Look out! He's got a knife!
Oh, man.
Can I get you?
Classic. Austin Powers himself demonstrating his powers of discernment. He always gets his man. Okay, what does that have to do with the point that I'm making about the left? You see, the interesting thing about that scene in Austin Powers is that the reason why it was so shocking is because he just simply punches this lady, right? Not only does he punch her for seemingly no reason, but he's punching a lady, right? That's just something you're not supposed to do, right? And the idea here is that if you're doing something diabolical, if you're doing something sneaky, or if you want to avoid a serious confrontation, you want to have a costume, you want to have sort of a mask that makes you vulnerable, right? This is the whole concept behind the wolf in sheep's clothing, right? A wolf could disguise themselves as an ox. A wolf could disguise himself as a crocodile. That wouldn't really help, would they? Or would it? The idea is that you want to disguise yourself as something vulnerable, something harmless, right? And not only something vulnerable and harmless, but something that is, dare I say, some that invokes compassion and pity, so that if they're suspected of something nefarious, people will be much less likely to attack them, right? So, for example, you take some 17-year-old, 16-year-old autistic girl named Greta Thunberg and put a bunch of nonsense in her mouth. And when she says a bunch of nonsense about climate change and about how the world's going to end in 5 days, everyone's afraid to say that she's an idiot because she's only 16 years old and she's a young girl. It's actually kind of clever, right? And if you think about the kind of the oppression hierarchy that the left has set up, really, the gay black woman has got to be at the top, which is to say at the bottom of the oppression hierarchy. I think maybe only supplanted by the gay trans black woman, which I think if you're a gay trans black woman, then that means wait a minute, would you be a man? I don't even know. I get confused, right? Anyway, some permutation of a black gay woman has to be at the top of their hierarchy. And this is why Black Lives Matter was so potent, because it was three lesbians that kicked it off, and nobody was willing to tell them to sit down and shut up, because then you were punching down, as they say. This is another made up concept where they say, "Oh, you're punching down." So this is why the left loves the black woman, right? She's the woman in the bar that nobody will ever take a swing at, even though underneath she's a ravening wolf. But you see, as with all, useful idiots, and pardon the pejorative term, there has to be something in it for them, right? The people the ladies who are prime candidates for this sort of usury, they have to think there's something in it for them. And what's in it for them is they get elevated to a place of status and prestige that they could never achieve on their own, because they're simply not smart enough. They're simply not talented enough. There are plenty of black women who are quite capable. You got Condoleezza Rice. You've got, there are many that, I didn't come up with a list. Some people, I don't care what you say about Candace Owens, you might not like her, but she's smart as a whip. She's nobody's fool, right? There are plenty of black women who are quite capable, who are quite smart, but they don't want those black women. They want the ones who are a little bit, just to be frank, kind of dense, right? They make these obvious, ridiculous blunders, like for example, Nicole Hannah-Jones in her 1619 project, right? Where she just printed outright lies, and she was actually corrected by another black female historian that her historical references for the so-called founding of America, which is not 1776, which we all know is the founding of America, but 1619, which is the year that the first slaves landed on the shores of America. And so she made up this whole concocted, buttressed by, well, I shouldn't say buttressed, but kind of bolstered by this fake history of America. And it was obvious that her history was trash, but that didn't stop her. And everyone was afraid to take a swing at her. Why? Because she's a black woman, and you don't punch down, right? So this brings me to Kamala Harris. That's a name you haven't heard in a while. And I am not exaggerating when I tell you that I had forgotten about Kamala Harris. When was the last time you heard about Kamala Harris? I mean, they literally said, somebody in the White House, somebody in the staff said, somebody put her away, please. She is making us all look dumb. And the interesting thing is that Kamala Harris, everyone's known from the beginning that she was completely unqualified, and she is 100% the purest definition of a diversity hire. She is affirmative action at its worst. You need proof? Let me show you.
It is a reflection of our moment and our time, right? And present culture is the way we express how we're feeling about the moment. And we should always find times to express how we feel about the moment that is a reflection of joy, because it comes in the morning. we have to find.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
What on God's green earth is she talking about? She literally was supposed to be describing culture, in case you haven't noticed. And just in case you think I'm cherry picking, there's you can just go YouTube it, go Google it. Just search on YouTube Kamala Harris word salad. She could keep you entertained for hours. I don't want to belabor the point here, but Kamala Harris is obviously incompetent. But you see, here's the thing. Kamala Harris is useful to the left because they can put idiotic words into her mouth. And like I said, everyone's just afraid to go on the offense. You need further proof? I got you. Your boys got you. I got you. Because here's the deal. Many of you may have heard, you've been seeing this interview going around of Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek Ramaswamy, you can say, and let me tell you something, I don't think he's going to win the presidency, but that dude is smarter than everybody you know. Let's keep it 100. Okay? Vivek Ramaswamy, every time he's on the TV, you go, I just learned something. That dude is sharp as a razor. And anytime you in the same presence of Vivek Ramaswamy, if you are dumb, it's just like, if you're like a dim light and a bright light comes on, you look even dimmer. Nobody was dimmer. I don't even know this woman's name. What's her name? This lady on the Breakfast Club. You know what I'm talking about. This Breakfast Club interview. Now, this lady, if we're being honest, she set black women back a solid century, okay? Because this might quite possibly be the dumbest argument I have ever heard. Let's listen to it, shall we?
Want you to filibuster that
No worries.
because
Just
that's
not
not the
sitting-
question that I asked, and I don't consider as a veteran. I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you
Civic
did for
service.
profit. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with
Yeah.
your
So
company.
I've
I'm
not
not talking
served-
about
I've not
that
served the country
because that
in the way
means
you
nothing
have.
to me.
You do
what I'm
realize
talking,
she
what
hasn't
I
been
am.
able to ask a question. She's been trying to
Go
ask
for
a
it.
question,
Yeah.
and you've been talking over her.
I'm
and
all ears.
We gave you the platform to let you say.
I'm all
what you
ears.
said.
I'm all ears. No,
she
no,
hasn't-
I was just
she
correcting a
hasn't
couple
had a chance
facts,
to
that's
ask
all.
a question yet. Every
Go
time
ahead,
she
Ted,
tries
ask
to
the
ask a question,
Okay, first of all, let me just say, DJ Envy, he doing a lot of mansplaining right now, but DJ Envy right here, he know good and well that Vivek Ramaswamy was not talking over her. This is a bunch of nonsense, okay? But I'm going to get to why it's this black woman asking the questions and not Charlemagne or Envy. We'll get to that in a second.
you've been cutting her off. Go ahead, Ted.
I'm all ears.
Right. So your question. So my question again is: you're trying to your goal is to raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country, and you want people to have civic engagement. Yeah. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all, and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service. Because one thing about political office, the same way that you want to change how people look at politics and look at this country, I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role. It's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies. Have you been able to get anybody in the room at any time, from a high school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there to now? Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate. But I want to get to the practical. You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city council, county council, mayor, governor. You want to go straight to the top. So my question.
All right. I don't want to belabor the point. There's got to be like 100, 1,000 videos on this interview, because this lady, if Charlemagne the fraud, if he was honest, she would get donkey of the day, because this might have been the dumbest. Just to wrap it up and to put a bow on it, she was literally trying to make the case that Vivek Ramaswamy is not qualified to run for president, and she was trying to assert the idea that his participation in like high school student council would have been more important than his leadership as the founder and CEO of a pharmaceutical company who brought 5 FDA-approved drugs to the market, some of which are for children, made millions of dollars in revenue, maybe even billions of dollars in revenue. I don't know, but she's literally making the argument that doesn't count for qualifications in leadership. But she's asking him, well, did you serve on your student council? Did you do something in the 6th grade, in the middle school? Did you get to the... That is literally the point she was making. I mean, I can't even begin to fathom the depths of ignorance that she displayed in this interview. And you can, there again, I don't want to beat that dead horse, because many people have done it better than I have. But why? Let's just ask the question. Why isn't Charlemagne or Envy asking these questions? The reason why, and it came through with Vivek, because She was constantly on the offense, constantly on the offense. She was rude. She was disrespectful. Her words were as ignorant and as cutting and as condescending as ever, but he wouldn't go back at her. And there's one reason why. It's because she's a woman. And more specifically, a black woman. And this is the whole point. You know, I wrote an article over a year ago on my Substack. You always see me plug my Substack, toddthinks.substack.com. I write things there occasionally. I haven't written a whole lot there as of late, but I invite you to go visit Substack, where I have this article called Punching Faces for Jesus, where I make this very claim. I kind of flesh this out because it really is important to put nonsense arguments in the mouths of people who people are afraid to confront. Not afraid because they're too strong, but afraid because they will look bad and look like they're taking advantage of people who they are, quote, stronger than. You got to give it up to the left. They're pretty good at this stuff. Their messages and their ideas are completely idiotic, but boy, their strategy is spot on. This strategy is spot on. But you know what? We need some of that Austin Powers energy. We need some punching chicks in the face energy. And I don't mean in the literal sense, but in the marketplace of ideas. When a black woman steps up with some idiotic idea, we need to be willing to take a swing. They want to step into the arena, the Gladiator Arena of the marketplace of ideas. Then they can get a 2-piece extra crispy with a coleslaw on the side. They can get it. And this is why I'm not pulling any punches. These black women are dumb, but they're dumb on purpose. They're dumb because they're useful. You think Kamala Harris could have ascended to the vice presidency without being hand-selected, classic affirmative action hire? She's forever indebted to them. She would be nobody without that nomination. She couldn't even, she wasn't even popular in her own state when she ran for president. But now they own her because the only prominence she will ever have is as the affirmative action hire, one Kamala Harris. What about Nicole Hannah-Jones, 1619 Project? She's forever indebted to the left. They printed her nonsense article that was full of historical inaccuracies, completely idiotic. Why? Because she's useful. She could never get to that level of prominence based on her own skill and intellect. And so that's why you got to respect people like Candace Owens. You don't have to agree with Candace Owens, but Candace Owens is a self-made lady. Candace Owens rose to prominence because you put her on a television program head-to-head with some leftists, and I have seen her over and over and over beat them senseless with facts. She is so quick and sharp, and I'm not even talking about whether or not she's always right, because that's a separate issue. Most of the time, she is right. She's pretty ruthless. She's a little. She can grate you. I'll grant that. But she ain't no affirmative action hire, that's for sure. And this brings me, finally, to Katanji Brown Jackson. You think she's not going to come? You think that Supreme Court nomination is not going to come back to bite us? Oh, I'm almost certain that it will. She's a diversity hire to the nth degree. She was grilled by Ted Cruz and why she seemed to be so lenient on sex offenders. She had ruled on sex offender cases. This was now, mind you, these were cases about people convicted of child rape and distribution of child porn. I don't want to say it because I don't want to draw the ire of the YouTube overlords, but she oversaw and adjudicated many of those cases, and her sentences for people who participated in that sort of thing were like some order of magnitude lower than the typical average. She convicted them with less time. She convicted them fewer times she was awfully lenient on the pervs. And if you've seen my recent video about The Sound of Freedom, this new movie, and how the left seems to love to offer cover to people who have an affinity for the child sex trafficking, I have a feeling that that nominee might mean more than just the typical hiring of the incompetent black woman. I think I've said enough, friends. What are your thoughts? As per always, I want to hear you. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If I'm wrong, hey, tell your boy he's wrong. Tell your boy he's wrong. Hit that like button. I appreciate the engagement. And if you like what I'm putting down, go ahead and share this with somebody. I think today I just hit 200 subscribers. Thanks to you all who are new subscribers. Hey, if I can get to 500 subscribers, what's today? Today is, my watch is dead here. This is July the 10th. If we can get to 500 subscribers by the end of August, I'll do something special. We'll maybe get one of you new subscribers on. You'll have a Q&A. I may even give away some stuff. I don't have anything to give away, but I'll figure it out. But we're trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of August, and I hope you'll help me do that, friends. So next time, God bless you.